All right, all right, all right. Well, welcome to this panel. And first of all, I wanted to again congratulate Melissa Medina and her team for this wonderful 10th anniversary of eMerge. Everybody having a good time? All right. Everybody went to the party yesterday? Yeah, okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. So, corporations. So as we just had announcements, we're going to talk about how corporations drive innovation here in South Florida. The local ones and also the newcomers coming to Miami like João. I want to talk about the corporations in Miami, in South Florida. Not many people know about who the big corporates are. So just for statistics and for some data. So there are in South Florida 23 Fortune 500 companies, and collectively they do about $500 billion in revenue. 6 of those companies are in Miami-Dade, Fortune 500 companies, so that's World Fuel or World Kinect. Lennar, the home builder you might have heard of. Icahn Enterprises, who moved to Miami not so long ago. Ryder Systems, and you might have seen their trucks. Mastec and Watsco. We're also one of the Fortune 500 companies. In Broward, we have 2 companies totaling $54 billion. We have AutoNation and Chewy, who you've heard about. And in Palm Beach County, we have Nextera, the big utility company. We have Carrier and ODP, also known as Office Depot. So collectively, these 11 companies in these 3 counties total $222 billion in revenue and are investing heavily in tech. And that's just the public companies. We also have some amazing private companies, 2 of them represented here, who are also investing big time in technology. So the panel today is about how we innovate in technology, because we are not tech companies per se. We are not Facebook. We are not Google, we are not OpenAI, but we are investing heavily in innovation, whether it's through startup creation or investing in startups or acquiring startups or just good old biz dev. So we're going to talk about that today with some amazing panelists. So we're going to have a good time here. I promise I don't have any questions about AI. I will not mention AI whatsoever today. However, if you want to mention AI in your answers, we'll go through them. So the panelists, I'm super happy to introduce them because these are companies that you won't see in the news very often. These are not companies that do a lot of PR. I'm not talking about Inter&Co yet, because there is some really cool PR you guys are doing. But JM Family and Southern Glazer. So Pearl Percy. So Pearl is the Chief Corporate Development Officer of JM and Family. They were founded in 1968 by Jim Moran, so I've been here for a while. The headquarters is in Deerfield Beach in Florida. They are a $20 billion revenue here in the US, which makes them 22nd on Forbes' list of largest private companies. And so they're in the business of automotive and other businesses. So they have a number of companies here. So they have Southeast Toyota distributors. So basically, JM Enterprise is the largest distributor of Toyota vehicles in the US. US or world? In the world. In the world, sorry. Largest distributor of Toyota in the world. So distributors, they have the JM&A Group, which is the largest provider of automobile financing as well. I don't know if it's in the US or in the world, but so they help finance all those vehicles. They also own World Omni Financial, offering financing for Toyota dealers and drivers. JM Lexus, which is the biggest dealer, or the 3rd biggest dealer in the US of Lexus. Home Franchise Concepts, one of the largest franchising systems in home improvement. Futura Title and Escrow, a large title and escrow group in the Pacific Northwest. And Rollies Acmeda. So a lot of activity. This is the biggest company you've never heard of. Unless you've gone to Fort Lauderdale, you have the theater. I saw the JM Family.
Donor, yes.
Yeah, you guys have been there, right? So huge in automotive and doing some really interesting things. So we'll talk about Pearl and her activity here in a second. Another huge company you might have heard of. So Cristina Benitez is head of SG Ventures since 2021. So Southern Glazer is basically the largest in the world in distributing wine and alcohol. So wonderful Miami company, obviously, but the largest distributor of wine and spirits. Distributes 7,000 brands across 250,000 customers. The tagline is building brands for moments that matter. They were also founded in 1968, I found out, right? So the same as JM Family Enterprise. Also a family company, And they operate in 45 markets in the US and also through brokerage in the Caribbean, Central and South America. They're headquartered in Miami and Miramar here in Florida. And they are a $25 billion company here in Florida. So as a private company, that makes them the 10th largest private company here in the US. And again, who had ever heard of the JM family or Southern Glazer? Anybody who knows those companies? So a few hands, but too many unknown companies. And then we have the newcomer. So we have JV, or João, who has built an amazing company in Brazil. It was the first digital bank in Brazil. And you might have seen their Cybertruck in Miami, or you might have seen the trolleys with their logo. João has brought his company to the US and has chosen Miami as the headquarter for his US expansion. So we will talk about what brought him here. Revenue of about $1.8 billion already, so no longer a startup, pretty serious company. And again, headquartered in Miami, they have offices in Brickell Key now, which they're expanding very quickly. And they also, for the soccer fans, they also have the Orlando MLS Stadium, which is now rebranded the Inter&Co Stadium, right? So, very exciting, very exciting. But today we're going to talk about a number of things. One is, how do corporates interact with startups? So if you're a startup here and you're looking for funding or to be acquired, you're going to want to listen here. Two, we'll talk about internal innovation and digital transformation. So anybody looking for a job in tech as a developer or product owner, or any of the people we need in tech stack, that's going to be important. And all three companies here are investing big time in technology, so we're going to have a good conversation. So thank you very much again for the three of you for joining the panel.
Happy to be.
So I'll start with Cristina,
Sure.
CVC. So you run the corporate venture capital fund of Southern Glazer. Why do you even invest in startups? Why is it good for your company?
Yeah, and interestingly enough, I actually studied this quite a bit when launching the corporate venture capital arm. We had a ventures arm before that was mostly focused on growing internal new business models, so internal innovation. And what I found is that other corporates, including ourselves, started to understand the value of sourcing external innovation, because that's how you can truly stay ahead of the curve. That's how you know the disruptors that are happening outside of your industry, kind of outside of your own little bubble. And through corporate venture capital, you can start making more efficient capital investments. You can even start considering acquisitions, but in these new areas that are very much aligned to your growth strategies and your priorities. So you'll probably hear from JM as well. It's our investment theses across corporates will be very different. You'll find that they vary widely, but it's a way to access those new ecosystems and not just place capital bets or look at acquisitions, but actually invite these new companies, startups, and across, right, really the maturity scale to potentially pilot, do proof of concepts with us, become partners, and then we can talk about the investment behind it. And so it's sort of a win-win and a way to invite that new type of innovation and technology into your company. And that's what we found ourselves, and we've seen a lot of support from these external companies, from tech partners and even tech talent, to support our internal initiatives, everything that we're doing on the digital transformation side, supply chain and logistics side, but also externally when we think about diversification, this is how we've been able to access those new opportunities.
Pearl, same question for you. So how do you engage with startups? Because you also do M&A, you do biz dev, you do venture investing. So what are all the things you do in startups?
Yeah, and I guess to respond to the question you had for Cristina, for us, our North Star is around delivering impact and outcomes. And so we're curious, part of our culture is being curious. And so for us, it's around speed and getting to market faster with the best product. And so for us, it's not a linear path of we build it ourselves, we invest, or we buy. It's really around focusing on what's the outcome and finding the best products. And then we do, like Cristina, we like to partner, but we also invest to make sure that the ecosystem is healthy. And then ultimately, we think there's a financial return in being able to pick the best in class and being a capital partner to those product providers.
Okay. And so what defines whether you will invest in a company or acquire a company or have a commercial relationship with a company?
Yeah.
Like how do you do one or the other?
Yeah, it's a little bit of fuzzy logic. I'd say it's a blessing and a curse to have flexibility. So very different than like say a venture fund or a private equity fund where they have a legal agreement with their investors that says this is what I'm looking for, I'm going to write this size check to this size company at this stage. We are the opposite, again, focusing on outcome. And so for us, it's identifying the business cases, the use cases, going after who's providing the best in class product. And then frankly, we're so relationship oriented, it's really a dance with the partner to figure out what is it that they need. You know, so we don't always, to us a win is if we find the best in class partner and we commercialize with them, we don't have to participate on the cap table. But and so that's a win in our scorecard. But if we find a best-in-class partner that's early and looking for investment, and we can provide that financial support and guidance, and as long as the partner feels it's a win-win, we feel like that's ultimately a great outcome for us too. But from a pure financial investment perspective, we feel like our relationships and our industry knowledge creates the alpha for us, and that allows us to pick and place these bets from a pure financial return perspective, that it's all of our history and legacy and relationships that allow us to pick the best in class partners.
Fantastic. And take it for the startups out here who might want to pitch to you. So check sizes for both of you. I mean, are you early stage, later stage? Does it matter?
So it started to evolve actually. We used to be just early stage, and so I would like to say single digit millions, but as Pearl was saying, as we start to expand, and it's really around the right fit, the right opportunity, and how we want to partner with that company, it varies broadly. Particularly as you start thinking about M&A and larger stake ownerships, it can go very, very high.
Yeah, and so we're trying not to confuse people, but we have a lot of flexibility. So we've done as small as a $500,000 check in a convertible note, and then we've done priced rounds where we've placed $30 or $40 million in earlier stage companies, and then on the control side, we've had a varied checkbook. We've deployed over $1 billion in the last 4 years. So it really, again, we are stage agnostic, check agnostic. It's really around, are we finding the right product, the right team, and do we have the right opportunity?
Let's just say that again. So they deployed $1 billion over the last 4 years. This is just one company, JM Family. João, you acquired 3 companies for your US launch. Can you tell us more about that process?
Okay, good. So at Inter&Co, we try to have this approach in a different way. So we do acquire 3 companies to get into US market, 2021, 2022, 2023. But what is most interesting about ourselves that we were able to bring innovation and technology to our core business. So Inter&Co was founded in 1994 as just a traditional regular bank providing working capital for mid-sized enterprise in Brazil. And in 2014-15, we just pivoted the business. So we decided to go retail, 100% retail. And in order to do so, we had to go to cloud. We had to build all our systems from the scratch. And fast forward, I'd say 8 years later, we were able to get presence in 5,500 cities in Brazil without one single branch, just through our app. So, and to do that, we had to also in Brazil to do some M&As, but very small ones, more focused to help our product. But it was a different story about how you can innovate in a traditional business. I mean, banking business is a traditional industry. And in the US, we're trying to have the same approach. So we're building our ecosystem here, but we believe that we will not be a company that will do a lot of M&A, a lot of acquisitions down the road. So we want to grow organic. And that's a little bit about what we're doing here in the US and how we learned to do that in Brazil.
Great, thank you. So for the startups here who want to interact with a corporate, so obviously you have probably a proactive way where you are reaching out, but how can startups engage with a corporate? How early should they do it? What are some of the no-nos or the yes-yeses about engaging with corporates and matching their needs with your needs? Maybe Pearl, if you want to go first.
I think the most challenging thing, especially for a private company like ours, is to really understand our businesses, because really the most productive conversations are around really understanding what our business needs are, and if you're providing a service, making sure that it's relevant for our conversation. So one of the biggest jobs that I think my team does is we act as a river guide. And so we are always out and curious and meeting with earlier stage companies and then trying to figure out what's the right match. Because ultimately I don't own the P&L and I don't own the business. And so it's making sure that we can do in a fast way, making that connection. It's like speed dating. And so the best thing that a startup can do is be really precise about what market they're going after and what their product features are and how they're differentiated, and to be really, like that elevator pitch, to be really concise, because people don't have a lot of time to understand it. And so the more concise you can be, the easier it is for me to digest and then say, oh yes, we have a match, or to give you feedback based on what we've seen.
Great. Cristina?
Yeah, I would agree with Pearl, and I'd add that, you know, a lot of times we've had great startup, it seems like a great concept, but they haven't been able to articulate what value they could deliver to us. And so to reinforce some of the points around the investment, particularly venture investment, there has to be some strategic value usually for the corporate to invest or partner with you. So it's important that, to Pearl's point, you understand our business. It might be hard for you to understand our needs, that's what the meeting might be about, but articulate, pitch the idea of what a partnership or why it makes sense for us to be together, why you would want us in your cap table. Without that, you leave us to figure that out, and you can imagine there's just a lot going on the corporate side. So that I would say is a huge thing, and I saw it, I've seen it as a gap.
Okay, great. So switching gears, so we talked about how those companies are investing in tech through external innovation, meaning, you know, acquiring companies, investing in companies, or commercial partnerships with companies. Then there's the inside. Also at Watsco, you know, we have a startup studio, so we build companies from the inside. So we hire developers and product managers and marketing and sales. So let's switch to the internal innovation side of things. So how do you think about technology in-house? And the second question would be, where do you get your talents to do those programs? I know, Cristina, you have a big digital transformation program going on right now.
Yes, we do. And if I take a step back, it started back in 2018 when we had the idea to try to digitize how we sell to our retailers, right? We're selling beverage alcohol brands to our retailers. Could we do that through e-com? Many industries have had this for a while, but in alcohol, we were kind of catching up. And we launched that, and obviously through the pandemic, that grew quite a bit. And what that did was grow the appetite for what technology could do to a traditional, you know, very physical, traditional supply chain type of distributor to digitize its ways of working. So what we've done is we've hired a chief digital officer, Alan Weissman, and it's somebody that has decades of experience transforming different corporates into kind of digital first cultures. So we're really just trying to incorporate digital into our everyday, and how we think about delivering enterprise value now is going to be based on agile principles. So rather than be project-based, we are now product-based, right? And I highlight that because you'll start to see, it's not just the corporates here, but most corporates are going to try to become a digital company first. That's just going to be the new normal. To do that, you need to hire some external talent. So we started with our CDO, and then it's a mix though, because you need the internal talent as well to guide you through how does this industry work? How does our company work? We're actually in a highly regulated, more complex than anybody would think sector. And so the mix is what kind of creates that magic. So in particular, Southern Glaciers right now is rapidly hiring and looking for roles and new folks in the product and engineering side. Because we're headquartered here, our CDO is here, our executive leadership is here, we'd very much prefer that to keep that in South Florida. So, you know, for anyone in the audience that has the talent or is available, just always think about some of the non-traditional players, because a lot of us are actively hiring for these new roles, and we're building really cool things and really transforming old school industries into digital first industries.
Pearl.
I think similarly, because we have the same kind of heritage, we are spending a lot of time what we call modernization, and some of that is internally creating a factory to move from the mainframe to a cloud, and so that's one skill set, and that's stuff that is so core to our, you know, keeping the lights on and keeping our cash flowing. So that's stuff that we own in-house, and But what's more exciting is that we're moving more away from infrastructure and more towards product and customer and designing magical experiences similar to you. And so it's creating new talent opportunities. And for us, it is the balance of upskilling the talent that we have because they're the ones who really understand our process, and process is so important, and our culture. But then bringing in new talent and bringing them together as a team to implement this change management. And then it's really exciting times. I'm going to be the one that mentions AI, that with OpenAI, it's really been this democratization of tools. And so we have SWAT teams internally that we've set up and that are OpenAI teams working with the business to identify business cases and turn those around and make real impact. And we're seeing ROIs of 6 months. And so similarly, we're deeply embedded in South Florida. Our heart and soul is here, our team is here, so we're recruiting, and likewise, we have some really exciting opportunities, and as you said, lots of capital and a lot of commitment, and so we think it's an exciting time to join us and work on these projects.
Right. Then João, on your side, I mean, you've innovated in Brazil, you're coming to the US, tech talent, recruiting, where do you do what?
Okay, but I'm going to go there, but before answer, important. For you to go through a major transformation in our company, we used to be a traditional business, in a traditional industries, banking. It's important to have a very strong sponsorship. So you can really change the culture of the company. So in our case, we have a very strong sponsorship from our board of directors and from myself. So we're able to empower our CTO, our CDO, everyone to really try to do things different. And that's why we're able to be the first digital bank in Brazil and so on, to be cloud-based. And so this type of support it's very important, mostly in a big company, in a corporation. I would say that in our industry, Brazil is one of the leading countries in terms of digitalization in payments and banking. And we are, I would say, trying to replicate what we did there with very, very state-of-the-art technology. Here in the US, we still see that, like Brazil, most of the corners in the United States, you see a bank branch, and it doesn't make sense. So, and the good news is that technology, you can really, it's something that it can migrate from one country to the other, it's something that's universal. And the good news is also it's not something expensive. Technology is becoming more and more and more available. And I'm not talking about AI. AI is going to foster even more, but it's available. So you really to have the will to do so, to change. If you have the will, you have the sponsorship, you have the right culture, you'll be able to get everything that's available in the market and change the way you are running your business in a day-to-day basis.
Very great. So these three companies alone, well, four actually, if I include Watsco, there's hundreds of open jobs. Because remind me, João, because you have like 50 people, I think, now in Miami.
Yes.
But you're growing to a big number, right?
Yes, we have 50 people, about 80 in the United States, or bringing people back to the office here in Miami. And the good news, we have almost 4,000 in Brazil, and today with the way things are, with technology, with the home office and everything, we can code over there and serve here. So we don't need to bring everyone over here or there. So it facilitates a lot when you're expanding to another country, for instance.
Okay. And so again, for JM Enterprise and for Southern Glazer, both companies rank very high on Fortune's list of best companies to work for. So you get to work in cool technology, working with AI, and in companies that really treat their people very well. So again, if you're looking for a job in tech in South Florida, that's why I love this panel. This is the kind of the hidden economy that you don't hear about, but doing some of the coolest stuff. And I would count Watsco as one of those two. Fantastic. João, I want to spend some time a little bit on your choice to come to Miami, right? So you could have picked any city, you could have gone to Wall Street, you could have gone to any other city in the US. Why did you pick Miami as your US headquarters? Yeah,
that's a very good question. Actually, we used to be a listed company in Brazil since 2018. And back in 2022, we changed our trading to NASDAQ. So the normal course would be to go to Wall Street, to New York. But we realized that here in South Florida, we have a very good ecosystem for technology, a very good ecosystem for Latin American companies with Latin American roots. You have the right time zone, you have the right also weather, the climate. So it's a more welcoming place for us, for a company that has its headquarters in Brazil, in Latin America. And we have all types of vendors, the top-notch ones that we use in our day-to-day operations with their office here in Miami. So just across the bridge, as we mentioned, we're in Brickell. So you cross the bridge, you have big partners of ourselves, MasterCard, sales for everyone there. So I would say that Miami has become really an important hub for technology, for innovation, and for us was, I would say, a very easy decision to say, we're going to Miami, we're going to have our office there. We brought our CTO, so our CTO today is based out of Miami as well. So we really believe that we are in the right place, United States, to keep fostering innovation and to keep using technology, top-notch technology for our business. We're very happy with Miami.
That's great. Going back to the investments and the projects, let's make some more concrete examples. Can you give some examples of maybe investments you've made or companies you've acquired or partnered with that are pretty cool and sexy?
Sure. So I'll go. So I can start with, we do keep most of our investments confidential, but our first investment was in 2021 in Reserve Bar, which is an e-commerce marketplace where consumers can buy beverage alcohol and get it delivered. And they've primarily focused on super premium luxury items. But what's interesting to kind of illustrate how corporate venture works, right? We invested in them, of course, for a financial return down the line. It's venture capital. We wouldn't expect that for a while. But we really looked at it for the strategic value. So we were looking to learn more about e-commerce. This is 2021. Get closer to the consumer. We're a B2B organization. And give the brands in our portfolio another marketing opportunity, particularly with premiumization trends, to be able to market to consumers directly. And it's played out in that they've since developed into much more than a marketplace. And so our brands are able to have all these new offerings and be closer to the consumer. So you start to see how we get that strategic value much more immediately while we wait for those financial returns.
We recently invested in a company called RockEd, which happens to be a Fort Lauderdale-based tech company. We didn't find it because we were looking for a Fort Lauderdale-based company. It's actually a company that's very much focused on learning. And then they happen to be focused on learning for retail associates who sit in the car dealership. It was a founder who grew up in the car dealership and then sold a data company, an automated data company, so he was successful and he wanted to reload and he got his pals back together again and they created a new product, and we think of it as a mashup of Duolingo meets TikTok, so it's 30 to 60 second videos that actually train sales associates to be better at their job. We think that education and training is an important task right now because labor is really difficult and expensive and retaining labor is important. And so this is just bringing modern tools. Historically, we think it's 10% classroom learning, 20% coaching, 70% you're just on your own. And if you figured it out, you figured it out. If you haven't, you've probably moved on to another job. And so this is a way that we can bring that constant learning in the pocket of our sales associates and in a way that's just native. Anyone who has teenagers, they know what TikTok is and they know what Duolingo is, and this is just normal for them to learn that way. Okay. So that was one where we were glad to have the commercial relationship. We were glad to take an investment because we think it's applicable in auto, but and beyond. And then we also think our relationships, so content is important to them, and so people we spend time with, we can help inform or introduce and say, here's some more content that you can create and then funnel it that way into that startup. Okay.
Quick follow-up, the TikTok meets Duolingo. What's the origin story? How did that connection start?
It's just the user experience. So when I say TikTok, they want to make sure that this content is 30 to 60 seconds. So they want, but their thought being micro-learning, if you do one lesson a day, that's equivalent to sitting down and doing a half-an-hour lesson at the end of the week. And then Duolingo in the sense that they've gamified it. So they create a leaderboard or like Peloton. So then now we are competing on who's ahead, what certifications you've gotten, so creating this community, but making learning fun.
Okay, great. Well, we're running out of time, so I'm going to start closing up this panel, which was a lot of fun. So I want to thank the three of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Cristina and João. And this is a selection. We could have had 10 companies here in front of us. There are, if you're a startup or if you're looking for work in technology, We have Ryder has Ryder Ventures. Lennar has Lennar Ventures. Royal Caribbean has Royal Caribbean Ventures. All these companies are here in South Florida investing in tech. And because Miami is so attractive, there are more and more friends CVCs who are investing in companies for companies who aren't headquartered here, but they are here. So Pepsi Ventures, Sarah, she's here. We also have Diageo, Sally Jean. I think she might be here actually today. Sally here? So there's a growing community of CVCs in Miami. So again, to startups, think about the angels, think about the traditional VCs, but also think about the CVCs who can be a commercial partner, an investment partner, or down the road even the company that acquires you and gives you, the exit that you've always dreamed of. So thanks again for everybody on the panel, and have a wonderful end of eMerge. Thank you very much.